Yo, Piggy, J1, what's good, bro? What's good, guys? Come on in. Sit your ass down. Oh, shit. Damn. But that DMV be goddamn mind numbing. Sitting in that bitch for hours for what? All y'all gotta do is sign and stamp this motherfucker, put that shit in the goddamn system. Bruh. I can't stand going to the DMV, bro. Got a quick lunch. I feel like I've been out the house all goddamn morning. I went to the gym, went grocery shopping, had to go to the mall, had to gas up my car. I'm tired of riding around. Shit. I'm just ready to sit the fuck down. Now I'm hungry as fuck, son. Eat these leftovers. Get these out the way so cook some turkey next tonight. Come on, Harry. Goddamn, bro. Bing. All right. Damn, this shit good as fuck. So. Boo. Yo, don't get that shit on my paintings, man. All right, I feel pretty damn good right now. See, I thought it was some Jamaican. Yo, pup. I went to the Joan where it says remove people from your block list, and I removed you from up there, man. I promise you I did, bro. See right here, it says hidden users. So these are users that can't appear on my page, and your name was in the list, but I took it out. Yeah, your name ain't in there no more, bro. Yeah, bro, and it still says you're a moderator in the moderator list. It still got you up here as a moderator, Puff. And then in like I say, the hidden users, I took your name off of the hidden users. Ban words. But I looked through the list a second time just to make sure, and nope, you're definitely not on the block list. I don't know, bro. My bad, homie. I don't know. My bad, bro. I don't know what the damn do. Uh, yeah. I'll watch some of those videos or tutorials or whatever to see if we can figure this shit out again. Or what if I? Go through my Google account. Yeah. I mean, that's the only way I sign into my YouTube is through Google. It's through my Google account. Uh, yeah, still brings you back to the same thing. All right. Strength. Let me hold it. Give it to me. Get it. Get the bone. Get that. Get it. Give it to me. Get it. Get it. Get. Give it to me. Get the bone and give it to me. Hey. Give it to me. Thank you. Why did it take you so long to figure that shit out? All right, so that's through Google. First, like I said, I don't know. That is kind of different. Oh, you know what? You know what? You know what I just seen just now? I just saw something. I just saw something. So, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It told me to save it. After I made the changes, it was like, you want to save it? And so maybe I didn't save it the first time. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe I didn't save it the first time. I saved it just now, though.
Get
So
10% off during Manscaped.com's holiday sale. Grab your favorite Manscaped products for that special someone, like our Performance Package 4.0 all-in-one grooming kit. Or get them something that will surely make it splash with the Lawnmower 4.0 waterproof trimmer. Looking to sniff out a great deal? Get the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And all our Manscaped formulations, like our Crop Reviver ball toner and Crop Preserve ball deodorant. Go to manscaped.com to get 10% off site-wide plus free shipping.
Someone who wants to meet you. My name is Foxy. What is your name?
Creepy as shit, Foxy.
It's nice to meet.
Every year, we break down the best games to play from the year on each console. So today, we're tackling the PlayStation platform. Here are some of the best 2021 games available on PlayStation, exclusive and multi-platform, from PS4 to PS5.
Alright, so I've been so bored with gaming lately. I'm gonna give a older game. Came out last year or the year before last. I'm gonna give it another shot. I paid for it outright. I got the hard copy, like the disc version, and swear to God on everything I love, yo. I probably played like the first hour of the game, maybe an hour or two, and I did it twice. Like I played the first hour or so, and I was like, I don't know. And I just put the game down for like months and months and months and months, and then a couple months later, maybe like 5 months later, I tried to play it again and did the exact same thing. I played like the first hour or so trying to get past the part that I got to the first time, and it's just like, fuck, there's something wrong with this game that's just not really catching my attention. But everybody loved it. It was like a critically acclaimed masterpiece in gaming, supposedly. And then there is a live action spinoff, and then there's an animated series spinoff. And it's just like, wow, everybody really fucking love this game and love this character, and like, why can't I get into this shit? So I took the hard copy. He's back. I took the hard copy and I downloaded it back on the system last night. Well, I'm gonna run it on a PS5 this time, of course. But The Witcher 3, yo. Yeah, man, The Witcher 3. Like, everybody loved The Witcher 3, and I don't know, like I say, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna try it one more time. I was playing some shit last night and was like, oh, I'm bored with this. Oh my god, Battlefield 2042 is like a really big disappointment. A lot of people are leaving the console, leaving the game, going to other stuff. I actually downloaded the new free Battle Royale for Call of Duty. Been playing that. And that gets boring after a while. I need some story-driven shit. But I'm gonna definitely I'm gonna give The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt one more shot, yo. It's like I said, it's already loaded up on the game. All I gotta do is just start up a new game. Well, I said I could probably start from where I left off at the last time, but I will start a new game. Cause like the first hour or so is basically just tutorials and instructions on how to use the character and his abilities and stuff like that. So I definitely need to freshen up on that part again. You owe me a drink for that one. I got you covered, bro. I got you covered, broski. A brewski for my broski. I really need to just get me a whole bar up here or something, man. Got a little bag of ice. Got ice right there. First things first. Get that ice going. Hey, at least we did learn something. At least we learned something. Got that fucking Market Alley gin. Batch number 21. Bottle number 1021. This shit is definitely handwritten, yo. You know what I'm saying? Every bottle is marked and cataloged. This shit is straight from PA too. It's distilled in Lancaster, PA. You know what I'm saying? So how we do this now? Oh, wait a minute. Open. Get that off of there. And I like the little cap on this thing. Like it's this old-fashioned style fucking plunger. So you gotta, come on, just open that shit. Yeah, you gotta pull that up, pop that open. Shit smell like gin now, boy. Get that Schweppes tonic water. I got some fresh lemons, but I ain't chopped nothing up, so I'm just pour a little bit of some of this lime juice in there. All right, now we talking. You know what I'm saying? Now we in business. Now we in business now, boy. Shit, that boy got the goddamn gin and tonic or something. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That's good right there. No gin and tonic. But yeah, so what was that? Oh, video games. Battlefield 2042 was the last big game I was looking for this year, and it's so I guess the next big games are Elder Scrolls 6, Horizon, the Horizon Zero Dawn series, part 2 to that, Forbidden West or whatever that is. So, Elder Scrolls, Horizon, I doubt if they'll give us a Grand Theft Auto next year or even the year after, but so I ain't even waiting on that next year. Yeah, so right now that's the only thing I'm kind of looking forward to is Elder Scrolls and Horizon. So let's see how terrible 2022 is going to be. Right. Yeah, I really need some floss. I got some ribs in my teeth. All right, what I want to do is outline this painting. I'm gonna outline this and get it toned. And then I'm gonna try to work on that stick a little bit. So I'm gonna need water. I'm gonna need this. I'm gonna need this paint. I'm gonna need this brush. This brush right here. I'm gonna need water. That's not water. That's oil. This is water. All right. Yeah. So water and that.
We got a bunch of good stuff to tackle. We got 20 games. So let's start it off with number 20. Lost Judgment is a multi-platform game, but it is incredibly awesome. If you didn't play the previous game, Judgment, that's okay. This game does a decent job of setting you Essentially what this is like a spin-off of the Yakuza games, but with more of an emphasis on detective work, chasing down perps, and of course, kicking ass. Story this time around takes you all over a new district as well as a fully fleshed out high school, which is a weird setting for a game like this, but there's tons of different side options and side quests to pursue. You can skateboard out in the open world, and if you've played any of the games from this studio, you know that the combat and the side quest writing and all the quirkiness of it all, the games, everything, it's all top-notch. If you've never played a Judgment game, there's only two, obviously, but this one is a good place to start. Now, next over at number 19, Green Hell is a game that really surprised us because on the surface, it might look like your run-of-the-mill, generic survivor game where you're just a guy stranded on an island and you need to craft and eat to stay alive. But there's a lot more to it. It's really single-player story-based, and it's incredibly interesting. There's a very cerebral story here.
Trust the process. Feel like it's falling down. You can't just quit, you know you gotta. Trust the process. Feel like it's falling down. You can't just quit, you know you gotta. Trust the process. You better fix your crown. We kings and queens, you know we gotta. Trust the process. Trust the process. Niggas playing hard, but he really so sick. Pumper got shot, Tate got shot, Desert got dropped, damn, Nate got popped, damn, Leaky got shot, what the hell? Fast face, high game. Corbin got kidnapped, they found his bones, he was riding. Corbin. Like a best friends, tripping on the hate ass. Someone wants some attention, I don't know that man. He's still doing numbers.
Alright, see, this is why I hate going on social media. I get stuck on that shit. Yo, Aileen Chandler Vass dot tech. So let me just go ahead and block you right now, cause y'all be on this weird shit trying to send these little dumbass links, or I don't know what the fuck this shit be. You know what I'm saying? Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye bye. Adios. Hasta luego. Arrivederci. Ciao, Bella. Alright, so let's see. What can we get done? What can we get done? This is about to be so dope. This is about to be so. Hey, this is about to be so dope. This is about to be so. Hey, this is about to be so dope. This is about to be so. Hey. might go live on Instagram. I might go live on Instagram. Let's see. Yo, Cuzzo, what up? I just wanted to let y'all take a sneak peek at the process before I start slapping some paint on here, man. So, if y'all notice, like the last couple of pieces that I did for myself, there are some still lifes. I'm trying to reimagine the still life so that it's not like vases and flowers and teapots and fruit. I think a still life composition can be way more contemporary and have way more cooler stuff in it. I mean, I love the traditional still lifes. Don't get me wrong. Like I have a teapot series, and I enjoy painting like the glass and the silverware, and that it's just they're cool and they're classy, and we understand like a a beautiful still life is just supposed to be that like everyday objects that we use, but that are just like really cool too. So, like I say, I'm trying to rethink the still life, and so the first still life was uh, movie night in which I had like some basically movies, and the second one was game time, which was some video games. Had a heavy pro marijuana theme in there as well. And this one is music. So movies, video games, and music. And I don't have a title for this one yet. And this is uh, Nipsey Russell was a comedian, a stand-up comic. He used to do like sketch comedy back in the day. So he's not technically a musician, but we all know who did a remix on his name, a very contemporary but late um, East West Coast rapper who took who took Nipsey Russell and then switched it to Nipsey Hussle, which is pretty cool. So he still has um, uh, a very strong influence on contemporary hip hop music, uh, and then just trying to bridge technologies in my lifetime, things that I have seen and used in my life from the phone. I remember my great grandmother actually had a phone very similar to this. My grandmother had the phone on the wall that had the dial on it, and I remember when we upgraded to like a push button phone, and I remember records and VHS and CDs, and now like we don't use any of this stuff anymore. Like we don't use any of this. People don't hardly buy CDs. Yeah, I mean, they're obsolete. We stream all our stuff now. So this is contemporary in the sense that this is stuff that technology still from my lifetime, and it's crazy. Like some of the technology in my lifetime has already become obsolete. And so just trying to document certain little things within the still life is kind of cool to me. And so just trying to do a little spin on it. And so this will be the third installment um, for the still life series. I don't have the other two here with me. They're actually hanging in the gallery right now. So, but they are posted on my page. So if you want to check them out, like I say, one of them is movie night. It has some old VHS tapes that I have in it, and a bottle of Jose Cuervo tequila. And the other one has the Watchdog series, and the old PlayStation controller was in that one. Thought that was pretty cool. So So yeah, I finally got the sketch up. So how I do my pieces, I'm gonna actually outline this with some acrylic paint, some black acrylic paint, and then I wash or tone the entire canvas, and then I start applying oil to it. Uh, Currently, we're working on. Say hey to the camera, boo. This piece is almost done. Have a little bit more to do to that and to the background. Um, this piece has a lot to go. Uh, I'm redoing this piece. I actually sold the original one, but I miss it so much that I'm just gonna do it again for my own personal collection. So no one, this will not be for sale. This is just for me. I finished up some commissions. I'm working on this one, kind of cool project. Customized walking stick. So we're gonna have a lion on here. It's weird painting around something like this. I don't know. I mean, not, I haven't painted around, but just even drawing around, it's weird as shit. But there's this big crack in it, and I packed it with gold leaf. The dude told me to do whatever I want to do with it, so that's kind of what I'm doing. I really don't know what I'm doing with it. Draw some lines on there, some other stuff. Got a gold vein. So it's that's gonna just flow however it flows, whatever else I feel like doing to it. And yeah, so that's kind of it for right now. But yeah, the main thing was just letting whoever get a little sneak peek at the early stages of this piece. I'm already excited about this. So stay tuned, and you guys will see more progress and updates from this. Catch you later. Peace. Wow, that's crazy. All right, I gotta get off that. The longer I hold that phone in my hand, the less I do this. Watching these motherfuckers artificially breed salmon. What the fuck? It's just everything. Maybe I should take a bathroom break. I don't know. I can go over for a minute. Let me at least get my shit set up. All right. So. Yeah. Alright, let's turn this back on. Ugh.
Will probably surprise you. It really hooked us. Green Hill has been a thing for a while on PC, but this year it finally got its big debut on consoles, and it's definitely worth the wait. If you're looking for a little bit more of an indie-style game, but that tries some interesting new things in a genre that you kind of thought was in its twilight years, Green Hell is awesome. Now, next over at number 18, we have Hitman 3. This released at the start of 2021 for all the major platforms, and don't forget about this one when you're making your own personal Game of the Year list, because Hitman 3 is incredible. It takes what IO Interactive has tried to do with the World of Assassination trilogy and finally knocks it out of the park. You probably remember these games kind of being like episodic, then kind of live service updated games. The release model was confusing for the average person who doesn't really pay attention to Hitman, but now with Hitman 3, they got it all nailed down, and they've really perfected the gameplay and level design to a degree that we didn't even expect to see. Some of the moments in this game are so incredibly memorable, and the best part is that you make your own fun here. It's challenging, it's freeform, you have a million ways to tackle your targets, and the amount of hours you get out of this thing messing around and playing and having fun is unmatched. Definitely don't forget about Hitman 3. Now, next over at number 17, we have FIST, or F-I-S-T. Forged in Shadow Torch. This is an action Metroidvania style game, but definitely not like any of the other ones you've seen. There are quite a few out there, but none of them really look like this. This insane over-the-top sci-fi aesthetics with a 2D plane, but with 3D graphics, incredibly detailed characters, and a really cool combat system. You play as Rayton, a seemingly cute and cuddly creature who actually has a sci-fi mechanical arm, and you travel through these environments exploring and kicking ass. The combat's cool because you have to pay attention. There's a lot of challenge between that and the platforming and, of course, the Metroidvania elements, and it's definitely something you should keep on your radar. Next over at number 16, we have The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Now, people for years have been enjoying the Ace Attorney games, but The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles are a new adventure, a different, more spin-off adventure. It's 2 games in this collection, and they're really tied together, and they're worth experiencing. You are, once again, a sleuth, going through the process of gathering evidence, doing the research, and, of course, doing those awesome courtroom showdowns, yelling objection, presenting your clues, interviewing witnesses, but with a little bit more of an old school, old-timey flair this time around. These adventures are absolutely worth experiencing, just like all of the Ace Attorney games, and we're glad that they're on the PlayStation platform. Next over at number 15, we have Deathloop, which for a lot of people feels like all of Arcane's best ideas thrown into just a crazy, chaotic sandbox. Deathloop is a time loop game, but it's a little bit more confusing than that, but it is also more compelling than you'd ever expect. This game wants you to have fun murdering people, and it wants you to experiment with your abilities and stuff. It's not the most challenging thing in the world, but it is incredibly fun to play, and it's cool to explore these environments, learn the ins and outs of all of your targets, all of which you need to assassinate in one time loop. That's how you figure out this whole game. It has cool weapons, a quirky art style, memorable music, and just, like I said, fun gameplay, most importantly. It's like playing a Dishonored game where you don't really have to worry too much about setting off any alarms because you were just such an overpowered badass. If you like any of Arcane's games or just really creative outside-the-box first-person shooters that make you think a little bit more, definitely check out Deathloop. There's a reason why it's making so many Game of the Year lists. Next over at number 14, we have Life is Strange True Colors. Once again, we get a new adventure in the Life is Strange storytelling vibe, but a new character with new powers and a whole new host of problems to deal with. It seems like their writing has gotten much better this time around, and if you like those games and you're looking for a cool new adventure, True Colors should satisfy. Next at number 13, we have Guilty Gear Strive, which looks out of this world, and yes, in person with the game running on your PlayStation, it does look this good. The art style is improved, the animations are absolutely out of this world, and it really just solidifies Guilty Gear as one of the premier fighting games. Arc System Works know how to make a gorgeous fighting game, and really at this point they're just flexing. They're just showing off. This one definitely takes some practice. It's a little tough to get into, but it's fun to master. If you've never played a Guilty Gear game, Strive is a good place to start with this version. Trust us. Next over at number 12, we have the Dark Pictures anthology, House of Ashes. Now, if you guys know, the developers behind the Dark Pictures games were the people who made Until Dawn, which was an incredibly fun cinematic PlayStation exclusive experience that we loved from many years ago. But the Dark Pictures anthology hasn't really quite lived up to the hype. Thankfully, that changed with House of Ashes, their newest one in this anthology. It's pretty sweet. It's like they learned all their mistakes from the previous games, combined it all, and made for a really cool story in an unconventional setting. It's a horror story in a place you wouldn't expect. And if you like horror games and you like more like playable cinematic style games, definitely consider House of Ashes. Even if you skip the other ones, this one is a really good one. Next over at number 11, we have Persona 5 Strikers. If you played Persona 5, one of the best ARPGs, seriously, ever, and you want more of these characters and more of this world, Strikers is a great place to jump in. It ditches the deeper turn-based JRPG stuff for more of an action battle brawler, but don't discount it at all. This is still a hell of a Persona 5 experience. You've got all the characters, you've got the music, you've got their moves, you've got the creatures. What more can you want other than just a PlayStation 5 version of Persona 5? I'm just messing though. Seriously, Persona 5 Strikers is cool. Next over at number 10, we have It Takes Two, which, like I've said in previous videos, actually won the big Game of the Year award at the Game Awards live stream event. And a lot of people were like, huh? What game is that? I've never even heard of it. And that's a shame, because this is a really awesome cooperative adventure experience. What it essentially is almost like a PG-13 Pixar movie that you play through. You play as two parents who get shrunk down into little toy versions of themselves, and you go on this Honey, I Shrunk Kids style adventure to save your daughter and maybe your marriage that is on the rocks. And what you get is a really compelling, funny, and heartfelt adventure with gameplay scenarios that are always changing. First, it's a platformer. Then it jumps to third-person shooter. Then it jumps to a flight game. Then it's a downhill snowboarding game. It's paced really well, so every hour you're doing something completely different, but none of it feels half-assed. It all feels really fun to play. This was a massive surprise this year. It is from, of course, the creators behind Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, and A Way Out. So if you're looking for a cooperative thing to play with somebody, find your significant other, find your best friend, sit them down and play this, because it is absolutely worth experiencing.
At Keeps, our mission is to keep your hair, whether it's this hair or this hair. Our clinically proven treatments work to prevent hair loss, so you can enjoy thicker, fuller, healthier hair. Hair loss stops with us. Get your first month free at Keeps.com.
Grammarly can help you write quickly and confidently, so you never have to slow down at work. Instant corrections make your writing mistake-free, while keeping it short, sweet, and fitting in tone. Join more than 20 million people who use Grammarly to write better every day. Go to Grammarly.com to download.
Now, next down at number 9, we have Chivalry 2. This multi-platform, multiplayer game is an absolute hell of a surprise. I was blown away with how much I love this one. It's essentially first or third person medieval combat action. It dumps you and a bunch of players into a castle siege or a battlefield showdown or pillaging or whatever, and you choose from a bunch of different classes and you engage in not super realistic but more involved sword fighting than you'd expect. You have to block, parry, manage where you're holding your weapon. There's a bunch of damage and blood and gore, and it is so satisfying. There's nice progression where you level up and you gain new banners, paint colors, armor pieces for your knight. Each class has different subclasses with different trinkets to use and different weapon types, and it's really fun to experiment, and it's getting updated with new content. Chivalry 2 is turn your brain off competitive fun, and it's absolutely worth it. Now, next over at number 8, we have Back 4 Blood. This is a spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead with a lot of the original people behind it. And although this definitely doesn't reach the heights of Left 4 Dead, you still get the same good nostalgic feeling when you're playing this, especially if you got a good group. It's a cooperative adventure with levels where you race through, try and get to the end and complete the objectives while fending off hordes of zombies and higher level zombies that have unique traits like spitting stuff and using their weird tongue or exploding. You probably know the gist if you've played Left 4 Dead. It's very much that here, but it's prettier, it's crazier, it's messier, and there's more of it. It's chaotic, and like we said, it's definitely worth experiencing with some friends, if you got them. Next over at number 7, we have Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, which we've been talking up quite a bit as one of the biggest surprises of the year. We're going to be honest, we judged the book by its cover. The reveal trailer and everything didn't look so hot for us, especially coming hot off the heels of Marvel's The Avengers game, which a lot of people weren't into. This is another Square Enix thing, but thankfully they took the complete opposite approach and gave us a single-player, narrative, story-based adventure. And it is beautiful and fun, and really just a perfect Guardians of the Galaxy thing. The combat revolves around you running around shooting people as Star-Lord and commanding all of your other crew members to do attacks. The gameplay isn't the best thing in the world, but it's still fun and satisfying, especially if you amp it up to higher difficulties. But the real thing here is the story. The characters are compelling, the story is heartfelt, and it's absolutely genius how they kind of bait you in with it kind of seeming like a familiar interpretation of Guardians of the Galaxy, and really fleshing out these characters in new and exciting ways. You seriously should not miss this one. Play it at some point, especially if you're a comic book fan. Now, next over at number 6, we have Scarlet Nexus. This was a pretty cool, pretty surprising JRPG where you play as either a male or female character with telekinetic powers, and how that integrates it into the combat is a ton of fun. The gameplay is hack and slashy, it's action-packed, it's focused around dodging and using your abilities, and how the game integrates throwing objects with your mind, with your telekinetic powers, into the gameplay loop is so satisfying, and that's the best part of this game. There is also a deep story and some really cool, creepy monster designs and an open hub world to explore, but our favorite thing about it is the combat. Next over at number 5, sticking with JRPGs, our favorite one of the year is Tales of Arise. This game's combat is out of this world. The way you use your team party members to kind of combine and do these cool ultimate attacks, it is so satisfying. A lot of RPGs have done this style of combat, but Tales of Arise just feels just right. Not to mention the world they built and the incredibly interesting and cool looking characters. There's a ton of variety to the biomes and just the adventure itself, and they built a really interesting tale here, which thankfully you don't have to have played the Tales games. This is a new adventure, and you can jump in and have a ton of fun. And you probably will. If you like JRPGs, this thing better be on your list. Next over at number 4, we have Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Yes, that's actually how you pronounce it. This is a really fun, traditional action-adventure game where you play at Kena, a guider of spirits. She enters a new land that has been ravaged by a tragedy, and she's essentially putting the pieces back together to see what happens, and she's using the help of these local little gross creatures called the Rot. You collect these things, and they follow you around, and they're like cute, quirky little things, and they power up your attacks. And the combat's pretty satisfying with the staff and these abilities, and a bow and arrow, and just more tricks and magic stuff you get along the way. You're exploring this world, you're solving puzzles, and it is absolutely a gorgeous game. It looks like a tech demo and concept art come to life, but thankfully really fun to play, with some really good boss battles and surprisingly steep difficulty spikes. This game can get pretty challenging by the end, but it is definitely worth checking out. Now, next over at number 3, if we're talking about difficult, we gotta mention Returnal. Returnal is not for everyone, but it is an absolute blast to play. I mean, look at this thing on screen. It's a third-person shooter mixed with a bullet hell shoot-'em-up style game, and it is the perfect marriage. This studio has done stuff like this in the past, but Returnal is really the pinnacle of it. This is a challenging game because it's run-based, so if you die, you start back at the beginning, but the way it loops the story in is incredibly interesting. You play as Celine, a stranded astronaut on this mysterious alien planet, trying to piece together what happened, and let's just say it goes places. So not only do you have this really tight, gripping, challenging combat, cool weapons, satisfying feedback to the weapons, but you also have really, really good sci-fi atmosphere. This game is gorgeous and cool and moody, and it is worth experiencing, especially if you like a challenge. Now down to number 2, we have Resident Evil Village. This 8th mainline Resident Evil game strays from the formula once again, even further from the survival horror formula of 7, and goes for more of an action-based thing. It's kind of like the first-person Resident Evil 4. You probably heard that a million times, but it's really interesting this time around with a really crazy roller coaster ride of a story with incredible characters, weird, gross creature monsters, cool bosses, And Ethan, the main character from 7 and this, feels way less generic this time around, and it's way more interesting. And of course, you've got Chris Redfield in this game, doing his Chris Redfield thing. If you're a classic Resident Evil fan, that's a good thing to see. While it might not be the scariest Resident Evil game by far, it can be challenging and interesting and gory and gross in all the Resident Evil ways, and it also just looks gorgeous. Not just from the graphics engine or anything like that, but just from the visual style, the architecture, the environment design is out of this world. If you're looking for a spooky adventure from a 2021 game, this is it. Now, down to number 1, of course, it's Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. We finally got a good old-fashioned Ratchet & Clank game on PlayStation 5, and not only does it look absolutely bananas with you being able to load in new worlds instantly because the world is being ripped apart, but also you just get a good, solid playing classic Ratchet & Clank game with fun levels, great enemy encounters, cool weapons to upgrade and experiment with, and unreal grinding and gliding and jumping and riding and really everything you expect from all of these games kind of combined into this one. It also introduces a new character, Rivet, who surprisingly is pretty awesome. They did a really great job looping her in and making her just as interesting as Ratchet with her own cool companion. It makes her a really interesting story and adventure, and one that you're going to want to see through to the end. If you're like me and you just like good old single-player action-adventure games and platformers, and if you're from that generation, this will remind you why you love this stuff so much. It certainly did for me. But those are 20 PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 games worth checking out in 2021. These are what we think are some of the best. But we want to hear from you guys in the comments what you're playing. If you got your own top 5, your own top 10, or your own top 20, definitely please let us know. Now, if you enjoyed this video, though, and we helped steer you in the right direction, maybe inform you about a new game, clicking the like button is all you got to do. It really, really helps us out. And if you're new, consider subscribing, maybe hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. As always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
Keeps all my investments on track.
That stock you and your internet friends told me to buy just fell 20%, Brian.
Wait for the squeeze, buy more. Invest for the long term on your terms with Wealthfront.
God of War Ragnarok, coming in 2022 to the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4.
You mean Tyr, the old God of War in these lands, who is dead.
Well, for a dead man, Odin seemed pretty keen on seeing what's found.
If he's out there, we gotta find him. What if the only way to do that is war?
Orc seemed like a calm and reasonable person. Are you a calm and reasonable person?
Marvel's Spider-Man 2, coming in 2023 to the PlayStation 5.
Could surprise me.
Starfield, coming on the 11th of November 2022, exclusively to the Xbox platform.
It's the key to unlocking everything. This is all we've been working towards. We've come to the beginning of humanity's final journey. That's what.
Avowed. With a release date to be dated, it will be coming to the Xbox platform exclusively. defeated our foes. Now our oaths are lost, forsaken. And you must face the monsters. Horizon Forbidden West, coming on the 18th of February 2022 to PS5 and PS4. Marvel's Wolverine, with a release date to be dated, coming to PlayStation 5. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, with a release date to be dated, coming to the PlayStation 5.
They promised power. Now they wield it. We fade the greatest Sith in generations. They must be stopped.
Hogwarts Legacy, coming in 2022 to the PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC.
Ancient knowledge, long gone from this world. That strange and mysterious talent you possess may be the key to unlocking this dormant power. Your potential is limitless. But what form will it take? The journey ahead will reveal what you stand for.
Stalker 2, with a release date of April 28, 2022, coming to Xbox. Wonder Woman, with a release date to be dated, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC.
And I must call you home. Restore what has been broken. Unite old enemies. Forge new bonds. You are a hero. But you can be more. You can be a leader. You are Wonder Woman.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, with a release date of 2022, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. Final Fantasy 16, the release date to be dated, coming to the PlayStation 5.
What do you mean you refuse? Did you pledge your sword to our cause?
For the spread of the planet.
Gran Turismo 7, coming on the 4th of March 2022 to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Lies of P, with the release date to be dated, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. Wukong, coming in 2022 to Xbox, PS5, and PC.
Purdue University Global. Apply now at purdueglobal.edu.
Dying Light 2 Stay Human, with a release date of the 4th of February 2022, coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch.
What is that? Chemicals.
Avatar, Frontiers of Pandora, coming in 2022 on the PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. The Elder Scrolls 6, with a release date to be dated, it will be coming to the Xbox platform.
No! My fucking god! My fucking god! Oh my god!
Forspoken, coming in spring 2022 to PS5 and PC.
My fucking god! God damn it, man! Shit. Hey Siri.
Uh-huh.
Will Elder Scrolls be on the PS5?
Okay. I found this on the web for Will Elder Scrolls be on the PS5. Check it out.
Fuck. Fuck my life. God damn it, man. Man, listen. Bro. So mad right now. So mad.
You'll jacked up beast. I'll probably find us.
Star Wars Eclipse, with a release date to be dated coming to PC. Sonic Frontiers, coming in holiday 2022 to PS5, PS4, Xbox One and Series X, Switch, and PC. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, with a release date to be dated and performance to be announced. The Elden Ring, coming on the 21st of January 2022 to the PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC.
The unknown is not empty. It's a storm that crashes and consumes, replacing thought with worry. But one thing can calm uncertainty: an answer. Uncovered through exploration, teamwork, and innovation. An answer that leads
In search of the Elden Ring, emboldened by the flame of ambition.
Project E, with a release date to be dated for 2022, coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox, and PC. Crimson Desert, with a release date to be dated, coming to Xbox, PS5, PC. Gotham Knights, with a release date of 2022, coming to Xbox, PS5, and PC.
All units at Elliott Center. Air support inbound.
We'll let players approach each challenge with their preferred style and their preferred build.
This will only take a second.
Pokemon Legends of Arceus, coming on the 28th of January 2022 to Nintendo Switch. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild sequel, with a release date to be dated of 2022, coming to Nintendo Switch.
to give you free stuff. It's to our friends at Honey. That's right, you can win a $5,000 computer just by adding Honey to your browser right now at joinhoney.com/minus-giveaway. Hey, you know what's better than a $5,000 PC? A $5,000 PC that costs $0. And it's the gift that keeps on giving, because when you're shopping online, Honey automatically searches millions of promo codes and drops the best one it finds into your cart. Yep, that's it. You can save money by doing nearly nothing. No more manually hunting for promo codes. Plus, it works on tons of your favorite sites. You know, the places you already shop. So this PC has a 3080 Ti in it. You know how much one of those costs right now? Trick question, because you don't need to know. Join Honey.
Alright, I need a snack.
Okay, so it's been at least 5 months now that I've had both the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. Over this time, I've actually been able to play both systems and compare them and see which one is really worth it. Is it better to get the Series X, which has a lot more, or is it okay to get the Series S? Now, when the pre-order started in November, I tried my best to get a system on the first day, and I had zero luck. No matter what site I went to, it either hung up or it was just out of stock, like in just minutes. But that's what friends are for. My good friend DJ Hero, who I do the Ziba Games podcast with, was able to actually order several of them, and he was able to get me one. Now, mine arrived a couple of weeks after the pre-orders, which was a little later in November. I remember it arriving, and I got it here, I unboxed it, and I gotta tell you, like, the packaging on this was very, very nice. After the unboxing, I kind of looked at everything and even compared the evolution of the controllers since the Xbox One. The thing about this thing is it's sort of this monolith. It's like this tall kind of just tower. And unfortunately, I'm not super excited with how the Xbox Series X looks. It's just sort of this tall block with a vent on the top, and I think the vent actually looks the best. But do you ever really just look at your consoles when you play the game? I don't. I actually had some trouble trying to figure out where to place this thing. Should I put it on the desk? Should I put it under the desk? Should it be visible? Should it be sideways? Should it stand up straight? Well, I ended up standing it up straight and putting it actually behind my TV because, again, I don't really need to see the console. Now, almost exactly a month later, right on Christmas Eve, I was able to acquire an Xbox Series S at Best Buy. They came into stock, I went to the site, and I had a little bit of trouble ordering it first, because it kept telling me that it was out of stock, but it wouldn't move it out of my cart. And it turns out I just needed to change the location of the Best Buy that I was going to shop at. So I got out my car Christmas Eve and I went and picked it up curbside, brought it home, and did a little bit of unboxing here as well. The setup for each system was actually very easy. I did it all from my phone. Both the Xbox Series X and the Series S recognized my phone from the network. As soon as I signed into the app, it was very easy and actually quite impressive. I was up and running in minutes and ready to play on both of these systems, being that I have Xbox Live Gold and Game Pass Ultimate. I also saved a bunch of game data on external hard drives, so connecting that was actually really easy for either system. After having both systems for about 6 months, I can honestly say that you're really not losing no matter which system you get. I'll explain. So, if we compare the Xbox Series X and the Series S consoles with each other, and you see what features one has over the other, it really does help inform your decision on which system to buy. So let's take a look at what the shared features are for both consoles. Both consoles feature the Xbox Velocity architecture, Quick Resume, which is really cool, DirectX ray tracing, variable rate shading, spatial sound, gaming at up to 120 frames per second, smart delivery, which I absolutely love. You can play thousands of games across 4 generations, which is a given, and it works with Xbox One gaming accessories, which means I can use both my Xbox Elite Controller Series 2 on either console, which I actually do. And of course with Game Pass, we have the same access to over 100 games. Again, that's kind of a given. But let's talk about the things that are really different. For example, the storage for the Xbox Series X comes with 1 terabyte of a custom SSD internal storage. The Xbox Series X comes with basically half of that internal storage. Now, of course, for both systems, you can expand the internal storage by 1 terabyte by purchasing the Seagate Storage expansion card. I actually pre-ordered one, but then canceled the order. I'll explain why later. Now, if we look at some of the other features that both of the consoles come with, both of them have a frame rate of up to 120 frames per second. But when it comes to the processor, obviously the Xbox Series X is 3 times more powerful than the Xbox Series S. Another difference is the Xbox Series X goes up to 4K, while the Xbox Series S goes to 1440. While these are different, that's not too shabby to go to 1440p. The Series X comes with an optical drive, the Series S does not. When you look at the video capabilities, the Series X goes up to 8K, and the Series S is capable of 8K, provided that you have an ultra high-speed HDMI cable, which you'll have to buy separately. Both systems come with DTS 5.1, Dolby Digital 5.1, Dolby True HD with Atmos, and Windows Sonic. And the ports connectivity are pretty much the same. You get 3 USB 3.1 Gen 1 ports, HDMI 2.1 out, and the wireless and the Ethernet are exactly the same. Once you look at the other features, you really start to see that while the Series S is not quite as powerful as the Series X, it still has some really good features and shares a lot of the same features as the Series X. Now, I will tell you, for the past 6 months, I have been playing my Xbox Series S way more than I've been playing my Xbox Series X. So let me explain the setup. My Series X is in my studio where I do all my work and streaming and content creation, and I also have 4K monitors with my setup. So it makes sense to have that system in this environment or in the studio area because I think it gives me the opportunity to use the system at the most of its capability. The Series S, however, is in the bedroom. Every time I get a next-gen console, I basically retire the older consoles to the side that you see back behind me here. So swapping out the Series S with the 1S or the 1X was very easy. As you can see, there wasn't a huge size difference. So how do they perform? I can honestly say that I do see some performance differences between the two consoles. For example, when I play Division 2, which has been enhanced since these new systems have come out, I do notice that there are some rendering issues. Right at the beginning, when I started up the game, I noticed that the helmet doesn't quite render correctly, and it takes a few seconds for the correct rendering to pop in. But after that, I have zero problems with the game, and that's very, very, very minor. Other than that, when I play my Xbox Series S, I really don't feel like I'm missing out. When I come back in here to the studio and I put my Series X, I'm not really sure that I see a huge difference in the performance because the frame rates are so great, and more studios are enhancing a lot of the games and making them Series X and Series S compatible. So again, which one is for you? For me, for both systems, it comes down to the resolution. If 4K is really what you need, then you might as well spend the money and get the Xbox Series X. I do not buy physical games anymore. I take advantage of the cloud. I haven't bought a physical game in years. I download everything now pretty much on all my consoles. I think the last physical game I bought was for my Nintendo Switch. And speaking of physical media, I also buy all my movies digitally. I buy a lot of movies. I know it seems kind of weird with there being streaming services and all these other things, but I really love movies, and I like to have my personal collection of movies. But years ago, I got rid of all my physical DVDs and most of my Blu-rays. They were taking up a lot of space when I was really moving more towards digital anyway. I found myself actually transferring all my DVDs to digital and not even playing them. So having an optical drive is not important to me at all because I'm not even going to use it. And obviously there's a difference in the power that each system has with 12 teraflops versus 4 teraflops. But again, if you're not pushing 4K, 120 frames per second, you kind of don't need it. And this is coming from someone who plays the Series S on the regular. When I play my Series S, I really don't feel like I'm losing anything when I come back to my Series X. That's why I think you can't lose buying either system. Now, when it comes to storage, obviously you have a whole half of a terabyte more on the Series X, but I don't keep a lot of my games just sitting in my internal storage. I usually keep the games that I'm going to play and keep the other ones in the cloud. Before these systems, when I had my Xbox One X and my One S, I just had external drives hooked up to those, and I used that same external drive and hooked that up to the Series S. So if I really want to keep a game out of the cloud and on a drive, I have access to it. But for the most part, I haven't really run into any problems. There's a few games that I keep on the internal drive at all times. Destiny 2, Forza Horizon 4, definitely those two all the time. But since I'm on a podcast, we play games every week, so I'm downloading a game every week. Most of the times, I don't keep those games. Sometimes I do, but most of the times I don't. And with the cloud now, you can just easily install these games. So is double the space of the Series X the win over the Series S? For me, it is not. It really doesn't make a difference. Playing a lot of the games that I play, especially games like Destiny 2, graphics look absolutely amazing on the Series X. When they enhanced Forza Horizon 4 for both the Series X and the Series S, the first I tested it out was on the Series X, but I play it mostly on my Series S, and again, I don't really feel like I'm losing anything. The graphics look absolutely amazing. The frame rate looks great, and this is on an HD TV, not a 4K screen. Honestly, I think that if you get your hands on either one, you're going to be happy. If 4K is an absolute must-have for you, then obviously you should get the Series X. But if you're fine with 1440 with the capability of possibly doing 120 frames per second, you're not losing by getting the Series S. Plus, you're saving a little money. There's no optical drive and there's a little less power, but if it's all about gaming and that's what you're focused on, the Series S is a lean, mean machine. Now, it might seem easy for me to say this because I have both systems, but I actually wanted the Series S first. I really did. Now, I ended up getting the Series X first, and I was able to play with that for a month, get the Series S, and see what the difference really was. And I don't think it's enough for you to be worried about which one you get. Again, for me, it all comes down to 4K. The storage, I don't care about. Don't use the optical drive, so I don't care about that either. And you can expand the storage on both of them anyway. So I hope it helps anybody trying to make a decision whether to get the Xbox Series X or the Series S. And let me reiterate, I don't think you're losing getting either one. Now, don't forget, I go live on Twitch every
LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, with a release date to be dated of 2022, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, with a release date to be dated for 2022, coming to Nintendo Switch. Alan Wake 2, with a release date of 2023, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC.
Looking for an answer. Sometimes it would be better to live with that hope, without ever finding the story. This is not the story you want it to be. This story will keep you alive. This story is a monster.
Slitterhead, with a release date to be dated and platforms to be announced. Nightingale, with a release date of 2022, coming to PC.
Dangerous labyrinth of fantastical worlds. Welcome to the lands of fame.
Or leading us deeper into this nightmare. A true story. A story that could overcome to all of us. Imagine waking up at a place far, far away from home. Away from your loved ones. Away from friends. Away from safety. Trying to understand how you got there. No one there to guide you. No one there to assist you. No food, no water. You've got nothing to survive. The complicated part is, well, you're a prey. Powerless, thirsty, and a weak prey of a strong, blood-loving community led by a religious nutjob. A false prophet that will do anything for power, anything for wealth. And when you realize this, you know it's the end. Your end. But you will never accept this. You will fight for a way out.
Lost Soul Aside, coming in 2022 to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Doki V, with a release date to be dated, coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox, with next-gen versions to be announced. time-traveling survival open world epic. With a release date to be dated, coming to PC.
Mysteries hide within this world. While limited, finding doorways to the parallel universes within the multiverse greets the player with a new world of experiences. Redfall, coming in 2022 to Xbox.
Really hope the note wasn't like
Fall back! People need to know what happened. Get me on the roof now!
Thank you, Layla. You're the best. Oh, Jacob's done with
Vigilance 2099. An absolutely stunning open world story driven RPG cyberpunk themed game with a release date to be dated, coming to next gen consoles, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The Outer Worlds 2, with a release date to be dated, coming to Xbox.
We see a quiet, peaceful setting. This will make our game seem big and important. Now, something must break the serenity. Will this creature be in the game? No. Say goodbye to it forever. Suddenly, and for no reason, people running. These pointless slow-motion shots make everything seem cool and should bolster pre-sale numbers. That wah sound can mean only one thing. We must gaze over an epic shot of a world, and there should be lens flares.
Plan 8, with a release date to be dated, coming to the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. with a release date to be dated, coming to PC. Dragon Age, coming in 2023 to PC, PS5, and Xbox.
No ancient prophecy. The kind of person they'll never see coming. We've got your back. I've got your back. Demons, dragons, darkspawn. Even the Dreadwolf.
Forza Motorsport, with a release date to be dated, coming to the Xbox Series X and S and PC. Fable, with a release date to be dated, coming to Xbox.
The world is filled with stories of legendary heroes and treacherous villains, of fantastical creatures and wondrous places where nature and magic live in perfect harmony. Not all stories have happy endings.
Yeah,
Find the answers you were looking for. Agent Dark.
Not yet. This is just the beginning.
Cabal and Forgotten. Release date, 2nd April 2022.
Shit. Let me go grab a snack real quick.
Evil Dead, the game, coming in February 2022 to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC, and Switch.
Hola, cyber friends. I'm Bruce Campbell. You know me as Ash Williams, the dude who saved the world from evil. I'm here to bring you the lowdown on the upcoming Evil Dead the game. You and your friends will team up as classic Evil Dead heroes to live the nightmare. You'll use savage finishing moves or character evil the new ones. Or, if you're not into the whole save the world thing, we have another option. You can play as the vile Kandarian demon itself. But who would want to do that? You'd be a dick. With the power of possession in your arsenal, you'll scare those E2 to death. Literally.
State of Decay 3, coming in 2022 to Xbox PC.
every year, we break down the best games to play from the year on each.
Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. Yo, that shit got me fucked up. Yo, I'm just listening to release dates for upcoming games. Yo, I just now realized, listening to this video, that they're not gonna put Elder Scrolls on the PS5. I mean, I kind of knew it. Kind of knew that shit was gonna happen. But just to like know that shit for a fact. I mean, why else did Microsoft buy out Bethesda, yo? Bethesda got two major franchises, yo. The Elder Scrolls and the motherfucking Fallout series. Now you gotta go to Xbox to play that shit, yo. Bro, that shit's still damn near impossible. Damn near impossible. But as soon as I heard about that Elder Scrolls shit, I started looking for Xboxes. Yo, you can order an Xbox S, the small one. You can order them shits right now for regular store price. Or at least like my local Best Buy said I can just throw that shit right in my cart. Now they don't got the big black X that looks like this shit right here. They don't got them in stock. But I can go get an S right now. Yeah, but the PlayStation, nowhere to be found. 2 holiday seasons in a row. How you miss out on 2 Christmases? God damn, Microsoft gonna make me buy a fucking Xbox, yo. Cause I'm not missing Elder Scrolls, bro. I don't care what nobody says. Yeah, like that's I got my PS5 on some lucky shit. I had stopped looking Stressing myself out trying to get that shit, man. I was like, fuck it. What? Mm-mm. No. I said, I'm gonna have to just, I'm really just have to buy a motherfucking Xbox, bro. What? Xbox Series S. Add to cart. $299. So you can buy that bitch all day. Fortnite Rocket League bundle. That shit's still $299. I don't get it. Anyway, it should say add to cart. Yeah, every little package deal you want, you get the extra controller. When you get down on the motherfucking PlayStations, sold out. You can add that to cart, add that. No motherfucking PlayStation nigga. No PlayStation and no big Xbox. But the little Xbox, all day. I might have to get me a little Xbox, man. I really just gonna get me a new TV. My main TV downstairs, man, that should be acting funny sometimes. I had it for a while, but that's how they design shit, man. That shit only lasts you a couple years.
What's the future of cooking?
Sous vide.
Eat sous vide, the magical all-in-one.
Yo, this stick took forever to dry. I'm trying to think, like. How can I make this shit dry faster?
Why stay earthbound when prosperity awaits you in the stars? Come to Halcyon, the only colony on the edge of the frontier, owned and operated by corporations. A trip of 10 short years will feel like mere mist thanks to the comfort and safety of your very own hibernation chamber. You'll wake up in a perfect society designed to maximize your productivity with sign a term of service, you will become the master of your own destiny when you go out of this world to the Halcyon Colony.
Hundreds of thousands of colonists left adrift out here forever, just to keep from gouging the board's bottom line. Disgraceful.
Oh, you can't see that.
Looks to be your lucky day.
Damn, yo. Try to do too much at one time.
Unfortunately, I used the last of my chemical supplies, saving you. I know it's a lot to ask, but I must have your help securing more if we're to save the rest of your fellow colonists. I've saved them myself, of course, but the bull is a sizable bounty on my head. Now, my ship is inoperative, but I've managed to hire a smuggler to help you out. Oh, I see we're in position. Good luck. Can you hear me? Is this thing working? Ah, there you are. Now, where were we? Oh, yes, smuggler. His name is Hawthorne, and he should be waiting for you at the landing site. He's to be your chauffeur, so to speak. Not to worry. I'm told he's a specialist. Dashing gunslinger, one-of-a-kind ship, that sort of thing. You'll like him, I'm sure. I've also outfitted you with a simple wireless monitor so I can track your progress. I'll check in with you as soon as you land. Good luck. All the colonists are counting on you.
ship go to waste. Also, I won't mind you taking his ship. Better you than the Borga. Not sure I trusted the fellow. I've gone after the bounty on my head. Shame about the whole squashing thing. Nasty way to go. Easy now. You've been frozen for a while. Bound to be unforeseen side effects.
Hey, you. Come on. You've tried the best now. Now try the rest. Spacer's choice. Oh, well, that stinks. Looks like the bleeding was stopped. I owe you one. Hope you don't mind me omitting this little exchange from the report. Spacer's choice doesn't like us accepting outside help. We were out on patrol. I saw a marauder camp up in the hills. Thought I could take him. Then my gun misfired. Right through my side. I mean, what are the odds of that, right? Just barely scraped by with my life. Crawled in here and blocked off the exit with those canisters. Gibbering, flesh-eating, law-breaking, unemployed lunatics with guns. Some hull had grounded their spacecraft out in the open. That's a real good way to attract marauders. See those canisters by the entrance? Marauders come sniffing around in here, and I can take them all out with a single shot. Not bad, huh? Yeah, okay. You look like you know your way around a gun. Got some spare ammo, not counting the bullet in my side. Here, you can have my saber too, for patching me up and all. All Spacer's Choice weapons are now 30% less likely to malfunction. You've tried the best, now try the rest. Spacer's Choice. Yes, nailed it that time.
Damn my ears! Oh, what just happened? Can you hear me? What in the hell?
Hey! Get over here before you get yourself killed.
Don't know where you came from, stranger, but you best keep your head down. There's marauders hereabouts, and worse, landing violators. Call on that rung leech. Landing in a Vale without using an official Spacer's Choice landing pad. I'd slap him with a fine if it weren't for all these marauders shambling about. You pulling my limb? I mean, yeah, of course. Marauders. Bunch of addle-brained derelicts. I could round them up all by myself. I just, need a couple of winks to catch my breath. Stretch my legs some. Well, sometimes. Management's real good at cost-benefit analysis. But, seeing as I'm the acting manager in this situation, you know what? You're right. It's time we cross those marauders off, find whoever owns that ship, and file a full report. Then you're gonna be fucking laminated.
Here we go.
Cover me! I'm going in!
Please be informed that this vessel contains no valuable plunder. Hello, Marauder. I am Ada, the autonomous digital astrogator of this vessel. Please be informed that I am authorized to use violent retribution against unwanted solicitors. Please return any misappropriated equipment and exit this vessel in an orderly fashion. Failure to do so will result in your immediate destruction. I detect an elevated hit rate, indicating dishonesty. Please prepare yourself for lethal deterrence. Gentry procedures initiated. Disinfusion airlocks. Prepare to eject all foreign parties in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are still here. My deception protocols have failed. I have been programmed to express disappointment This vessel is the registered property of Captain Alex Hawthorne. I am incapable of accepting orders from anyone other than Captain Alex Hawthorne. I understand. I will require some time to process this information. Thank you for your patience and for your honesty. I am programmed to take orders exclusively from Captain Hawthorne. If I accept your orders, then you must be Captain Hawthorne. Do you understand? Well done, Captain Hawthorne. I see your powers of deductive reasoning remain intact. Unfortunately, our engine is currently inoperable. Our main drive suffered a critical power failure, and we were forced to make an emergency landing. The main drive's power regulator has been irreparably damaged and must be replaced. Astutely observed. However, the probability of locating a power regulator within a worker settlement falls within acceptable parameters of certainty. High-capacity power regulators are sometimes employed in the electrical networks of worker settlements. I have taken the liberty of printing you a new captain's identity cartridge. Please try not to lose it this time. This cartridge identifies you, Alex Hawthorne, as the registered proprietor and captain of the Unreliable. Do you understand? Thank you. I appreciate your cooperation. Best of luck in your search for power regulator. Try to stay alive this time.
Say, this wouldn't happen to be your ship, would it? Because you sure walked in it like it was your ship. And if this ship is yours, well, mister, you owe Spacer's Choice a hefty fine. Afraid we gotta dock your pay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea we had an inspector coming. If you'd like to speak with my manager, I report to Constable Reyes in Edgewater. Edgewater's not too far. Just follow the road east of here, over past the cemetery. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to inspect the crime scene before I make my report.
The grease monkey, Argo?
I'm sorry, Mr. Hobson, so you asked why it's taking so long to fix, but the answer's technical.
Don't apologize. Just try using small.
The can's bust open in the oven because she's set to cook tuna, which isn't what we thought. Hey, Mr. Thompson, I think there's someone here to see you.
Focus, talking, do not overdo. Let's start over. Walk me through the process. Show me where it's going awry.
Well, sure. It's mostly on account of what we're feeding into the mechanism.
It puts food in cans. We have food, we have cans. Why won't it work like we need?
We expect you to sell tuna of a certain size. We're filling the cans with, well, mouth fish.
Seems we've got a guest. Really now, Pavati, I do wish you'd spoken up. I do apologize. I was given no forewarning of your arrival, or I might have welcomed you at gates myself. You were saying, Miss Oldham.
It's just what Bess needs is a proper refurbish. I can bandage her up and all, but she's just old. Sorry, I'm sorry. Oh.
And I do wish you'd stop referring to our cannery as Bess. Personification of company property is strictly contrary to the Spacer's Choice Code of Conduct. My apologies. I am not in the habit of allowing my guests to witness such a row. Now, what can I do for you? I'm Reed Thompson, outpost administrator. I cannot help but notice you are not in uniform. Yes, so it dawns on me. Seems I allowed my excitement to run away with my wits. Been a few seasons since we've had a visitor pass through.
Only regulator we got is hooked up to the town transformer. Mr. Thompson ain't liable to be keen on something.
I beg your pardon. I am most emphatically not keen on any such thing. I can't let you have our power regulator. But I happen to know another one. And I happen to know exactly how you may retrieve it without rying yourself in the process. There's a power regulator in the old botanical lab. It's mostly abandoned, so all that
Damn,
power
there's no way
is
for you to
being
see
swapped.
this shit.
Go down to the geothermal plant. Reroute power from the botanical district over to us. Once their power is down, you can have their regulator. And
I guarantee you I am drawing on it.
I'm not entirely sure how to tell you this. The botanical labs are not legally inhabited, but
There are people who live there. No, I do not imagine they will be pleased. But like a parent disciplining an unruly child, you will be doing them a kindness. The people living in the Tangoland, they're deserters, former workers. I need them back at their posts. I need them to come home. My hope is that by cutting off their power, you will convince those deserters to come back to town. Before you go to the camp, I want you to stop by the botanical lab. Speak to their leader, Adelaide. Tell her the power's about to go. That it's time her band of deserters came back to town.
My dad told me all about the plans. Taught me all he knew. I could come in useful. I mean, if that's all right with you, Mr. Thompson.
I hesitate to part ways with Miss Holcomb, but I cannot deny that she is talented and may prove useful to you. You will need an administrative passcode in order to enter the flat. I am trusting you with mine. I'm trusting Miss Holcomb to guide you if you'd like. Are you sure? I imagine Miss Holcomb will make a reliable companion. She knows her way around the Vale.
Oh, sure. I mean, you got your own business and all, so I'm sure you... Sorry. I'll just be in my garage, fixing stuff. Like I do.
You may find Miss Holcomb at her garage once she and I are done talking. I want you to know I appreciate what you're doing for us, even if you are a stranger. Best of luck to you.
I don't know you. Whatever you're looking for, it ain't here. Move along. Answers, huh? You must be one of those philosophals. Already got ourselves one of those. Much obliged.
If you're hungry, there's meat turning on the spit outside. If you're bearing illness, find a place to lay your head down and I'll fetch you a poultice. Whatever your troubles with Edgewater, leave them at the gates and be welcome here. Any questions, dear? I have been called that, among other things. Green Thumb, grandmother, the strange old lady who keeps flowers. But yes, Adelaide will do just fine. Are you staying long? You should try some of my tobaccorn tea. I brew it in an old spittoon, but it's been cleaned. Reed Thompson. You here on behalf of that cold-eyed reptile? Let's hear it. What's Reed's idea of peace, then? Make amends. Spare me. Only thing Reed knows how to make is a mess. Like everything else that comes out of Edgewater, that peace offering is canned. I and my own are living just fine out here by ourselves. He would do such a thing. Question is, why would you agree to his plans? Cannery's got a regulator. You want ship parts, you ought to rip them out of the cannery's guts and leave us be. If you're going down to the plant, you should divert power away from Edgewater and toward our end of the grid. Think about it. We'd be liberating an entire town from a lifetime of service to that odious cannery. Seems the sort of thing a hero would do. I trust you will listen to your conscience.
Good morning.
LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, with a release date to be dated 2022, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Mario plus Rabbids Spark of Hope. The release date to be dated for 2022, coming to Nintendo Switch. Alan Wake 2. The release date of 2023, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC.
Looking for an answer. Sometimes it would be better to live with that hope, without ever finding a story. This is not the story you want to be. This story will keep you alive. This story is a monster.
Slither. With a release date to be dated and platforms to be announced. 'Nightingale', with release date of 2022, coming to PC.
Welcome to the lands of fame.
Leading us deeper into this nightmare. A true story. A story that could overcome to all of us. Imagine waking up at a place far, far away from home. Away from your loved ones. Away from friends. Away from safety. Trying to understand how you got here. No one there to guide you. No one there to assist you. No food, no water. You've got nothing to survive. Complicated part. Well, you were brave. Powerless, thirsty, and weak prey of a strong, blood-loving community led by a religious nutjob. A false prophet that will do anything for power, anything for wealth. And when you realize this, you know it's the end. Your end. But you will never accept this. You will fight for a way out.
Lost Soul Aside, coming in 2022 to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Pioneer, with a release date to be dated, coming to PC. coming in 2023 to PC, PS5, and Xbox.
No ancient prophecy. The kind of person they'll never see coming. We've got your back. I've got your back.
Oh.
Demons, dragons, darkspawn, even the Dreadwolf.
Forza Motorsport, with a release date to be dated, coming to the Xbox Series X and S and PC. Fable, with a release date to be dated, coming to Xbox.
What's his review?
The Callisto Protocol, coming in 2022 to Xbox, PS5, and PC. Unknown Line Awakening, coming in 2023 to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC. The Day Before, with a release date to be dated, coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X,
Abandoned building.
PC.
Take whatever you want.
Let's check it out. Ah, shit. Got company. Use calm down.
The things are about to get heated.
Extinction, with a release date to be dated for 2022. It's coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC.
Your mission today shall not be easy.
Yo,
You won't
happy
go
holidays
alone to the
to you
surface.
too as well.
In fact, I'll send a many teams. Collect the data I need. Take it if you must. Protect it if you can. The storms that plague this world.
In a world where there are no rules, all that matters is a load of fun.
X2, a cyberpunk-themed RPG story-driven open-world game. The release date to be dated coming to PC. The combat looks great, and the visuals look epic.
Money for blood. That's a peculiar crime. Sometimes I kill for money. Sometimes I kill for justice. Your next target is Johnny the Wireman, wanted alive. Big dope. A safe silver Jacob Sound area.
Honor of King's World, with a release date to be dated coming to PlayStation 5 and other platforms yet to be confirmed. Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origins, with a release date of the 18th of March 2022, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. Babylon's Fall, with a release date to be dated coming to PS5 and PS4.
You're too late. They're all gone.
You won't make it.
Project Awakening, with a release date to be dated coming to PS4 and PS5. November Eve, with a release date to be dated coming to PC and maybe a potential console release in the future. release date to be dated, coming to the PC.
It's never as hungry as the wolf, fighting to survive. To all of you who've been battles alone, remember our ancestors in the harsh wilderness.
Little Devilman Son. The release date of 2022, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, PC, and Nintendo Switch. Sifu, coming on the 22nd of February 2022 to PS5, PS4, and PC. Carnival Hunt. The release date to be dated for 2022, coming to PC. Ad Infinitum, with a release date to be dated for 2023, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. Kale, with a release date to be dated, coming to PC, and hopefully a release date for consoles soon.
In contrast, Pantera is all about muscle and physical power. They're part of the soul of Santo. They're tough and brutal, and they favor melee attacks and heavy weaponry to come at you with full force.
Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, coming on the 22nd of September 2022 to the PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC. Beyond Good and Evil 2, with the release date to be dated, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox, and PC.
And they can all tune in to Radio Cheetah, a station by space pirates for space pirates. You'll also be able to
Skull and Bones, with the release date to be dated, coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox, and
provides
PC.
everything you need for your next strike. From your shipyard, you choose the Black Horn for the upcoming battle. The strong winds will boost its speed, giving its battering ram to plan. The enemy strikes first. The first ship goes down, breaking your formation.
Let's get out of here before something else breaks. Lights are back on, that's good.
Warning. Toxic atmospheric pollutant detected. Please evacuate sector and inform maintenance personnel.
Trek to Yomi, with a release date of 2022, coming to PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, and PC. Sniper Elite 5, with a release date of 2022, coming to PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X, and PC.
What happens next could change the course of the war.
Dune Spice Wars, with the release date of 2022 coming to PC. Assassin's Creed Valhalla Dawn of Ragnarok, the most ambitious DLC expansion in Assassin's Creed history, with the release date of the 10th of March 2022 coming to the PS5, PS4, Xbox Series X and PC.
The fire of death. Almighty Odin. For only a god can kill a god.
Keep it as easy and delicious as possible. There's not a ton of prep involved yet, and there's so little cleanup.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dick930, and today I wanted to share with you the complete history of Splinter Cell. Splinter Cell is a stealth action video game series created by Ubisoft and endorsed by the late American fiction author Tom Clancy. Each game in the series follows secret agent Sam Fisher as he covertly infiltrates enemy territory with a sophisticated arsenal of unique gadgets and maneuvers. The franchise is known for its robust stealth-based game mechanics, high-quality visuals, and its iconic main protagonist, but has seen a significant shift in gameplay style throughout the course of the past several years, taking on a more action-oriented approach. Despite this shift, each main entry to the franchise has been met with critical success, making it one of Ubisoft's most cherished intellectual properties. So, what made Splinter Cell so popular to begin with? And why has Ubisoft not given us a new entry in the past 6 years? To answer this, let's start by looking at how this franchise began back in the early 2000s. In 1999, Ubisoft developers working out of New York, who would later be absorbed into Ubisoft Montreal, had begun working on a new action-adventure game set in a 1970s post-apocalyptic America. This project, known as The Drift, featured a number of design concepts that would find their ways into other popular Ubisoft properties, including Assassin's Creed's dynamic crowds, the sci-fi elements of Beyond Good and Evil, and Splinter Cell's heavy stealth action elements. Most of the information regarding this project was revealed during an IGN interview a few years ago, so there isn't much to go off of. But there was some interesting concept art of a modular weapon that allowed the main character to fire special gadgets like grappling hooks, remote cameras, and swap between different vision modes. This weapon, along with designer Nathan Wolf's introduction of several stealth-based concepts, resulted in a new focus for the studio. With Metal Gear Solid still firmly seated as the ultimate stealth action franchise on the market, and Metal Gear Solid 2 set to release soon after, Ubisoft decided to focus their effort on creating a rival stealth action series, and scrapped The Drift almost completely. At the same time, Ubisoft had already begun working closely with the American novelist Tom Clancy, who is famous for his fictional espionage stories. Franchises with the Tom Clancy name attached, including Rainbow Six, had already been met with better sales figures, and helped to establish Tom Clancy as a mainstay overarching link between Ubisoft's more militaristic Black Ops video games. While Tom Clancy didn't necessarily have any direct say in the direction of the game or its story, his name was attached to the project's title, which would go on to be called Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell Stealth Action Redefined. Utilizing the Unreal 2 engine, Ubisoft worked to create a highly detailed world to sneak around in, with extra effort put into the game's advanced lighting effects. Like most games of the time, Splinter Cell stealth mechanics would rely heavily on the player's position relative to environmental light sources. Standing in the direct light would allow AI to recognize fire, while standing in the shadows would allow the player to hide. This idea, inspired heavily by the classic stealth action series Thief, would go on to define Splinter Cell and directly contribute to the much darker art direction. Ubisoft also put a great deal of time and effort into the design of the player's character, making him not only fit with the game's aesthetic and atmosphere, but also ensuring that he was unique and interesting. Instead of the typical arrogant, loudmouth protagonist synonymous with late 90s gaming, Ubisoft decided instead to develop this type of rogue soldier, whose advanced experience in the field had left him a bit of a cynic, but still fiercely loyal. In order to capture this character, Ubisoft brought on board Canadian actor Michael Ironside, providing the perfect fit.
One false move and you're dead. I need information.
But Ironside didn't just read from their script. He also provided valuable input into the actual design of Sam Fisher himself, and suggested introducing a more human element. This resulted in the creation of Sam's daughter Sarah, who would appear in cutscenes talking to Sam over a secure line. Sam's love for his daughter and his cynicism towards line of work helped to create a more complex and deep character to explore, and one that fans connected with immediately. The original Splinter Cell takes place in what used to be the near future of 2004, and follows Sam Fisher as he embarks on a series of covert missions across the world. Fisher is a cynical, over-the-hill ex-Navy SEAL, who, after the death of his ex-wife, retires and tries to reconnect with his daughter Sarah. Seeing his overwhelming potential, a U.S. Army colonel named Irving Lambert invites Sam to work for a new branch of the National Security Agency called Third Echelon. Third Echelon had been developing an experimental counter-terrorist unit called the Splinter Cell program, which involved sending a lone, highly trained Black Ops unit into the field with a small radio support team consisting of information analyst Anna Grimsdottir and field runner Vernon Wilkes. After a rigorous training exercise at Fort Meade, Sam is sent to Georgia to investigate the disappearance of CIA agents Blaustein and Madison, but discovers their dead bodies instead, with their subdermals surgically extracted. Sam tracks the culprits to a defense ministry nearby, where he learns that Georgian billionaire Kumbain Nikoladze, who had just taken control of the region after the Georgian president's assassination, had been conducting ethnic cleansing operations in Azerbaijan. Fisher's discovery results in NATO's direct military involvement, prompting Nikoladze to drop off the grid and attack the United States with an information warfare attack. With the situation becoming unstable, Sam Fisher and the rest of Third Echelon continue down the rabbit hole, tracking down a mole in the CIA, stopping an attempted cover-up at the Kalinatech offices, and uncovering potential Chinese involvement that could result in a Third World War. The plot of the original Splinter Cell not only establishes the franchise's more serious tone, but is also consistent with the themes used in other Tom Clancy stories, especially in how powerful information warfare can be. This, along with Sam's personal struggle to manage his work life and his relationship with his daughter Sarah, created a fresh and unique narrative that's rarely seen in the video game industry at the time. But what's more interesting is how the story is seamlessly incorporated into the gameplay experience. The original Splinter Cell doesn't rely on long, drawn-out cutscenes to move the plot forward. Instead, a lot of the narrative is delivered during the player's time sneaking through the environment, including reading emails on computer terminals, frequent voice communications between Sam and his support team, and even interrogating NPCs. This type of integrated narrative approach, coupled with Michael Ironside's incredible voiceover work, helped the Splinter Cell franchise stand out from the competition, creating a far more immersive and realistic stealth action story-oriented experience. But the story was only a small part of what made the Splinter Cell games great. Splinter Cell's gameplay mechanics were fundamental in redefining stealth action in gaming today. It didn't just take concepts from Thief and Metal Gear Solid, but expanded upon them. With the help of the Unreal Engine, Ubisoft crafted environments specifically tailored for light and shadow-based detection, requiring players to carefully maneuver the world in the darkness to avoid being spotted by the enemy. To properly convey this concept to the player, the game's heads-up display includes a light meter that constantly adjusts based on the intensity of the light cast on the character model. Since this meant players would need to spend most of their time sneaking through the shadows, Ubisoft decided to give players a method of seeing in the dark. This led to the development of Sam's iconic night vision trifocal goggles. Tom Clancy initially dismissed these goggles due to their unrealistic combination of night vision and thermal vision. but they have since become the franchise's most recognizable feature. Players are also equipped with special tools, including a lockpick, an optical cable to peek underneath doors, and a silenced 5.7 pistol. Partway through the game, the player is given access to another of Sam's iconic weapons, the SC-20K, a modified F-2000 assault rifle with a sniper scope and an under-barrel grenade launcher, capable of firing special non-lethal munitions like airfoil rounds, sticky shockers, and sticky cameras. Sam can also perform several acrobatic maneuvers, including combat rolls, silent drops, climbing, rappelling, and the iconic split jump. Typically, players can bypass enemies stealthily using this extensive list of abilities and equipment, but there are times where direct confrontation is inevitable, and players can either use their firearms or non-lethal devices to neutralize targets. Because of the game's heavy focus on stealth, combat isn't really this game's strong suit. You can fire guns at certain enemies, assuming you're given the go-ahead by Lambert, but the accuracy is all over the place, encouraging a more hands-on approach. The most effective method for dispatching enemies is to sneak up behind them and grab them with a chokehold. Players can sometimes interrogate these enemies, use them as human shields, and even press their faces into retinal scanners to bypass locked doors. Players can then knock the NPC out and will need to carefully hide the body to avoid raising an alert. But what really helps Splinter Cell stand apart from games like Metal Gear Solid is the way it allows players to manipulate the environment. Since the game's stealth mechanics are designed so strongly around the engine's lighting, Ubisoft implemented ways for players to change the environment's lighting to bypass threats. For example, players can shoot out lights to create darkness, or even flip a room's light switch for a cleaner approach. To help make the experience even more realistic, the game's artificial intelligence is designed to behave naturally to these types of things. Shooting out a light causes an enemy guard to switch to an unpredictable investigation pattern, requiring players to carefully improvise their movement to avoid detection. Splinter Cell's gameplay was a revolution for stealth action gaming. It infused the cinematic experience of Metal Gear Solid with the shadow-based detection system of Thief to create some of the most tense, close-quarter stealth action the genre had ever seen. Not only that, but Splinter Cell was a visual marvel in 2002. Unlike other games where shadows are just thrown in to make the game look pretty, all of Splinter Cell's visual elements are fundamental to how the game is played. Shadows play a huge role in the gameplay and form the entire backbone of the experience. Because of this, Splinter Cell shadows were far more sophisticated than any other game before it, with real-time projections of the character, the NPCs, and environmental objects. The dark environments of Splinter Cell are brought to life with these beautiful shadow displays around every corner. Ubisoft also incorporated realistic cloth physics, which, back in 2002, looked incredibly impressive. The fact that this game still looks good today is a testament to its excellent art direction. Splinter Cell would go on to release for Microsoft's new Xbox platform in 2002, alongside a PC release in the same year. A separate Ubisoft studio called Ubisoft Shanghai were then contracted to create a PlayStation 2 version of the game, and released it in early 2003. This version features a few bonus features, including an exclusive mission in a snowy nuclear power plant, and several reworked cinematics. There are also a number of changes to the level layouts in order to account for the PlayStation 2's weaker hardware, including more frequent loading screens and less detailed environments overall. Despite these changes, all versions of the game were met with high critical acclaim, with the original Xbox and PC versions getting an aggregated 92% score. Players loved the impressive visual direction mixed with the solid stealth action gameplay elements, and its likable lead protagonist. UB Montreal even released a Game Boy Advance version of the game that featured 2D renditions of many of the original game's environments, along with some light stealth action elements. Splinter Cell was an instant hit, and Ubisoft had successfully delivered on the game's slogan, in that stealth action had truly been redefined.
How do we know what is real?
Soon after the release of the PlayStation 2 port in 2003, Ubisoft Shanghai were contracted to begin work on a sequel. In order to make this sequel bigger and better in every way, the developers took careful note of criticisms made to the original game. The sequel would aim for a more focused narrative experience, and would include smarter artificial intelligence and more interesting environments to explore. But convinced they could do more, Ubisoft assigned their Annecy studio to begin work on a separate multiplayer mode that would combine elements of the franchise's stealth action with the emerging online competitive space. After a full year of development, Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow hit store shelves for both the PC and Xbox platforms, and released a month or so later for the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii U. Pandora Tomorrow is place in 2006, with the U.S. military having recently been deployed to Indonesia to help in the fight against the radical guerrilla group called the Darah Dan Doa. The leader of this guerrilla force, Suharto, launches a terrorist attack against the U.S. Embassy to East Timor, which greatly escalates tension in the region. In response, 3rd Echelon sends in Fisher to secure the area, forcing Sedano to go into hiding. However, as Fisher begins investigating the Darah Dan Doa further, he discovers Sedano has managed to sneak smallpox bottles into the police by making daily phone calls to his operatives. This extra insurance forces the U.S. military to cease operations in the area, as Fisher attempts to identify the location of the bioweapons and shut down Sedano's operations. Pandora Tomorrow's story, while not as deep and complex as the original game, feels more cinematic. The locations that the player travels to are far more diverse, and the added threat of the biological bombs being released after a single screw-up adds a significant new level of tension to the experience. Pandora Tomorrow also introduced a unique choice-based sequence midway through the game, where the player is told to shoot a supposed ally without question.
Fish, we need Dahlia Tal dead. Kill her. Don't think, just do it.
What's cool about this moment is that it's not required of the player, and no matter what you decide to do, the game will go on, only with a minor change to the ending of that level. It's a neat moment that really helps to humanize Fisher, and would go on to inspire a future entry in the series to adopt a similar choice-based design. Pandora Tomorrow's gameplay retains most of what made the original game great, while also addressing many past concerns. First, Sam was given several new abilities to improve the flow of movement. New moves include the slot churn, which allows players to smoothly move from cover to cover, the ability to hang upside down from horizontal beams and fire weapons, a whistle to lure enemies, and the half-split jump, which allows players to climb up even more narrow corridors and shift their stance to reach high ledges. To address the terrible weapon accuracy of the past game, Pandora Tomorrow introduces a laser sight for Sam's 5.7 pistol, which can easily be toggled on and off to perform precision shots on targets. Various animations are also improved, with Sam's crouch stance appearing more realistic, and enemies no longer falling forward haphazardly after being knocked out in a chokehold. Sam is now capable of opening doors while carrying bodies, rather than needing to drop the body first and open the door separately. And hiding bodies is much easier, thanks to the addition of a blinking indicator in the light meter, giving players confirmation that their hiding spot will not result in an alarm. Speaking of alarms, Pandora Tomorrow expands on the strict 3-tier alarm system. Enemies can now instantly trigger alarms when they detect the player, rather than needing to run to a static alarm button in the environment. With each sequential alarm, the level becomes harder, with enemies equipping bullet-resistant vests and helmets, though the alarms can also reset if the player manages to stay hidden long enough. This new alarm system greatly increases the difficulty of the game, and encourages a far more stealthy approach. Pandora Tomorrow's level design is also greatly improved. While the levels themselves are still linear, each level feels more unique and interesting. Some levels feature lush Indonesian jungles and fields, while another has the player clinging to the roof of a speeding train. But the absolute biggest change to Pandora Tomorrow is its inclusion of the new Spy vs. Mercenary competitive multiplayer. Developed by UB Hennessy, Spy vs. Mercs is a separate game mode that pits a team of 2 spy players against a team of 2 mercenary players. The spies handle roughly the same as Fisher, with a third-person camera, several acrobatic moves, and special gadgets to help complete their objectives. Tools include both night vision and thermal vision goggles, sticky cameras that can put enemy players to sleep, alarm snares to draw attention, spy bullets to track enemy positions, and a number of non-lethal grenades that can be equipped and thrown at the player's feet for quick getaway. The mercenaries, on the other hand, are played in first person, limiting their field of view and their abilities to more basic movements like running, jumping, and climbing ladders. To balance out the mercenaries' lack of maneuverability, they are given a powerful automatic rifle, capable of zooming in and firing long-range sniper rounds. Mercenaries are also given many gadgets, including explosive wall mines, laser spy traps that can temporarily tag an enemy spy on the radar, phosphorus grenades that can be used to follow a spy's footprint trail, and frag grenades, which can be launched from the rifle to kill spies hiding in out-of-reach areas. Instead of night vision and thermal vision, the mercs are given a short-range torchlight, a laser that can digitally acquire targets, and 2 unique vision modes, a red motion tracking mode, and a blue EMF mode that can highlight enemy spies when they're using their electronic tools. When stealth isn't an option, spies will need to rely on quick movement and deception to come out on top, usually slaying their opponents with their converted P90 taser, and either jumping on them or grabbing them from behind. But because of the awkward controls and inconsistent hitboxes for grabbing enemies, it's often better to run and hide rather than taking mercenaries head-on. Players also need to deal with various security systems, including laser grids, camera networks, and motion sensors. Triggering these alarms results in a temporary lockdown of the area and will alert the mercenary team of the intrusion. The spy's goal ultimately is to disable the ND-133 smallpox virus bombs, mirroring the events of the game's main campaign, while the mercenary's job is to defend them and kill any intruders. This cat-and-mouse style gameplay, inspired heavily by 2000's Alien vs. Predator, was insanely creative for the time, and is still to this day one of the most unique experiences I've had in an online game. Visually, Pandora Tomorrow made several improvements to the already impressive graphical design used in the first game. Using the same engine, Ubisoft Shanghai improved the lighting effects with more dynamic props, like swinging light bulbs, greatly increasing the level of realism. The game's new outdoor environments also required some new visual, like improved water simulation and implementation of cloth physics. Again, just like the original game, these beautiful graphical features aren't just nice to look at, but also directly impact the gameplay. Players can sneak around in tall grass to avoid detection, and need to carefully time their movement with lighting during thunderstorms to avoid being spotted. Pandora Tomorrow offers various advantages and disadvantages based on the platform you choose to play on. The PC version, for example, was plagued with technical issues at release, especially with Radeon-based cards at the time, making it nearly unplayable. But if you happen to have the right configuration, it was easily the sharpest and best performing version of the title. The PS2 version, which released a few months after the Xbox and PC, features an exclusive jungle section to the refinery level, in addition to some reactive water simulation effects throughout the game. But again, in order to compensate for the PlayStation 2's weaker hardware, the level layouts were altered, and more loading screens were put into place. Pandora Tomorrow also saw a Game Boy Advance release, only with smoother animation work and some new stealth mechanics. Pandora Tomorrow, just like the original game, was a massive critic success. Many praised the improved focus on the story, enhanced visual design, and creative online multiplayer mode. However, many complained about the more linear nature of the level designs. There's less freedom to experiment with Sam's arsenal, especially with strict no-kill rules on many of the missions, tedious tailing objectives, and strict paths that essentially need to be taken every time to avoid being detected. The game's multiplayer, while a great idea, felt rough, even back when it released due to the sloppy controls and steep learning curve. Once you got into it, it was an amazing experience, but it was always a hard sell for most. And even if you did end up enjoying the multiplayer, there were several balancing issues, like the mercenaries occasionally glitched instant grenades, and the spy's ability to stun an enemy and then jump on their head for an easy kill. Still, the game is a solid experience, and helped lay the groundwork for the next title in the series. During Ubisoft Shanghai's development of Pandora Tomorrow, the original Splinter Cell developers, Ubisoft Montreal, had already been hard at work with a third entry to the franchise. This third entry, built using the modified Unreal 2.5 engine, features a huge leap forward in graphical design, with improved lighting effects, advanced shaders, soft shadows, a robust new physics system, and completely reworked animations. The game environments were made to be much larger and open-ended, with multiple routes to and from objectives, and the game's AI were designed to not just react, but remember disturbances, greatly adding to the realism of the experience. This entry also features an improved version of the fan-favorite Spy vs. Mercenary mode, a brand new cooperative campaign, a return to the information warfare-based plot of the first game, and hugely expanded gameplay mechanics, making it one of the most ambitious entries to the series yet. This third entry, titled Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, released in spring of 2005, and is still considered by longtime fans to be the very best entry in the franchise. Chaos Theory's story takes place in the year 2007, and is based heavily around the idea that technology is rapidly reshaping the world. To defend itself against the threat of information warfare-based attacks, Japan forms a military force called the ISDF, a move that both China and North Korea feel violates post-World War II agreements. China and North Korea then initiate naval blockades in the region, prompting Japan's allies, the United States, to begin their own naval operations to defuse the situation. Meanwhile, Third Echelon follows a lead regarding the kernels used by Nick in the original game's information warfare attacks, only to find that they've been stolen by an unknown organization. The plot begins to thicken as various information-based terrorist attacks begin to destabilize the Japanese conflict further, pushing the world closer towards a Third World War. The story's emphasis on technology and information-based warfare echoes themes used in the original game, only with Fisher becoming more aggravated by the idea of growing old and being replaced. This is an interesting subplot that really helps to expand on Fisher's cynicism and makes him a more dynamic character. especially during a mission in Seoul where the player can choose to directly defy Lambert's orders and save the lives of 2 injured pilots.
You don't even exist, Fisher. I can't get a medal for this.
Medals don't help me sleep at night, Lambert.
Again, much like the Dahlia moment in Pandora Tomorrow, this is a minor event that has no real impact on the outcome of the game, but it's still one of the more memorable and interesting moments. To expand on the themes of technological advancements, Ubisoft incorporated things into the gameplay experience like motion sensor lights, wireless network connections, and UAVs, which provides some interesting gameplay challenges. Chaos Theory's gameplay received a gigantic overhaul, improving on practically every aspect introduced in the past 2 games. All the animations were completely reworked in order to make Sam move more organically through the world. One of the most noticeable animation changes is the closer than ever mechanic, where Sam's crouch stance will automatically adjust relative to an enemy's distance. This greatly improves the flow of movement for Sam, removing the awkward, stiff controls of the past 2 games with something more akin to a ninja stalking through the shadows. Various other stealth mechanics were also tweaked. In addition to the light meter of the player's HUD, Chaos Theory introduces a sound meter that displays the player's current sound levels relative to the environment. This allows players to adjust their movement speed and time their actions with things like the thunder to avoid raising suspicion. After complaints about the 3 alarm mechanic in past games automatically failing missions, Ubisoft made the alarms in Chaos Theory much more fitting. While enemies still go on high alert and even gear up with bulletproof helmets to prepare themselves, raising too many alarms no longer instantly fails the mission. Ubisoft even spun on themselves with a line Lambert gives in the second mission, basically saying that the 3 alarm system was cheesy and unrealistic. Bodies are also no longer detected automatically if left sitting in the spotlight, removing the tedious cleanup requirement in the past games. If guards did happen to find a body or happen to spot the player, then they are once again limited to needing to run to a wall switch to trigger the alarm, instead of being able to instantly radio in an alert like in Pandora Tomorrow. These more forgiving elements make the gameplay in Chaos Theory feel more accessible, and greatly encourage more creative approaches to the much larger and more intricate environments. Many of the new abilities introduced in Pandora Tomorrow failed to find their way into Chaos Theory, including the laser sight, Sam's half-split jump, the SWAT churn, and even the blinking hidden body indicator. Though this is understandable, considering how situational those features are. Unlike the first 2 games, Chaos Theory's levels are designed to be open-ended, with more than 1 or 2 paths to reach the objective. One of the best examples of this is the Panama Bank mission, where the player is dropped in the front of the building and given several different ways to approach non-linear objectives. Players can go through the front door, shooting out lights and distracting guards, rappel in through the ceiling, or crawl into the air conditioning vents, all with far more intelligent enemies to contend with. The artificial intelligence in Chaos Theory is greatly improved, with enemies that not only remember past events, but also properly adjust their behavior in response. This makes return visits to older areas even more interesting, as guards that were spooked by an earlier disturbance will now be more cautious, walking with their gun at the ready and looking around the area more carefully. Some guards will even pull out flares or flashlights to see in the darker environments, and will comment more directly about disturbances, like seeing open doors, broken devices, or even notice their friends missing from their posts. When in combat situations, the enemy AI will usually run for cover first, and will often communicate with each other in an effort to pick the player's last location. In order to deal with these intelligent enemies, Sam is now capable of performing more effective close-quarter takedowns. While the original 2 games forced players to sneak up behind enemies, Chaos Theory allows Sam to perform takedowns from any direction. New to Chaos Theory is the Combat Knife, which can be used to instantly kill enemies, and can also be used to break the locks on doors. For players looking for a more non-lethal approach, each takedown attack can be substituted with a non-lethal alternative, like an upward jab to the face or a quick punch to the side of the neck. Players can also grab enemies while hanging upside down from a pipe, pull enemies over ledges, and, if you're playing on the PS2, pull enemies into bodies of water. In addition to the improved hand-to-hand combat, the game's firearm mechanics were also reworked. Players can no longer aim their guns around corners, but Chaos Theory does allow for shoulder swapping for improved target acquisition, in addition to a number of changes to the iconic weapons themselves. The 5.7 pistol is now equipped with an OCP device that can remotely disable electronics, allowing for a silent way to bypass bright lights without needing to destroy them. The SC-20K now features modifications that need to be swapped for different functionality. By default, the SC-20K is fully automatic with a red dot sight and an under-barrel grenade launcher to fire things like sticky cameras, airfoils, and sticky shockers. But based on the loadout selected prior to each mission, players can press a button and swap attachments on the fly, including a foregrip for improved weapon stability, a shotgun, and a long-range sniper rifle. Unfortunately, these attachments aren't very useful because of the amount of sound that they produce. But for players looking to play more aggressively, they are still fun to play around with. Chaos Theory's advanced gameplay mechanics allow for far more creativity and experimentation. But only the most stealthy players will be able to achieve coveted 100% in the post-mission statistics screen. But if that wasn't enough, Chaos Theory also expands on the well-received multiplayer component of Pandora Tomorrow. First, there's the brand new cooperative mode, which utilizes the same art design and gameplay mechanics of the game's single player, only with unique cooperative missions and cooperative-based abilities. Players can boost each other up walls, throw each other like cannonballs, and even be lowered from the ceiling Mission Impossible style. This co-op is fun, though it does feel admittedly lackluster in terms of its visual design, with more repetitive environments and less variety. Still, it's a welcome change of pace, and the game's single-player design translates perfectly for a cooperative experience. On the competitive side, the popular Spy vs. Mercenary mode from Pandora Tomorrow returns, and has been improved upon tenfold, assuming you're playing the Xbox or PC version, that is.
Good, bro.
While the core concept of a team of 2 spies versus a team of 2 mercs remains the same, Chaos Theory's verse includes several new features for both teams, including some new moves, new gadgets, more interesting levels, and some tweaks to the balancing. The spy team, for example, can now turn invisible using a temporary cloaking device, and can track enemies using a heartbeat sensor attached to their gun. Spies can also initiate cooperative actions in certain levels, allowing them to reach advantageous locations that they wouldn't otherwise be able to reach. Just like the single player, spies can grab enemies while hanging from ledges, and the taser jump combo from Pandora no longer works. Mercenaries are also more interesting to play as now, with more gadgets to choose from, and even a few different weapons to try out. Unfortunately, these weapons are terribly balanced, with the Uzi's rate of fire and the shotgun's overwhelming damage output making them far too powerful against the already defenseless spies. So, most players agree that the original assault rifle is the only fair choice. Mercenaries can now perform a berserk move, spinning in a circle and knocking down any enemy in range, and they can then follow up with a humiliating takedown on an incapacitated spy. Mercs can also utilize a new camera network system, which is likely the inspiration for the camera network design in Rainbow Six Siege. But the biggest change to Chaos Theory's Versus mode is the reworked level designs. Levels in this Versus mode are much more interesting than the boring industrial sites featured in Pandora Tomorrow. New levels include a creepy old orphanage, a coastline aquarium, and an active missile silo. Levels also feature more interactive components. Some levels have hackable panels to disable lights and defenses, while another has a huge crane that can break down a wall into a new area. Fan favorite maps from Pandora Tomorrow are also included, only with a few minor changes to the layout of objectives to help make them feel more in line with the new gameplay design. Unfortunately, this isn't the case with all versions of the game. The PlayStation 2 version, likely due to hardware limitations, fails to provide most of the new features advertised in the trailers. Instead, Ubisoft took the outdated design of Pandora Tomorrow's multiplayer and threw in 4 dumbed-down versions of the new maps. None of the new gadgets like adaptive camo or unique weapons found their way into this version. But outside that, Chaos Theory's gameplay was vastly improved in every single aspect over its predecessors, with smoother animations, more open-ended sandbox environments, and some nice improvements to the game's multiplayer options. And then, of course, there's Chaos Theory's presentation, which surprisingly, even after 14 years, still holds up surprisingly well. To help address the franchise's aging visual design, Ubisoft Montreal spent 8 months building the game's assets entirely from scratch, with a reworked Unreal 2.5 engine. New features like HDR lighting, parallax mapping, high-quality shaders, and soft shadows were implemented to make Chaos Theory the best-looking game in 2005. Ubisoft also had to address the problem with enemy bodies clipping through the environment after being incapacitated, and introduce ragdoll physics, allowing bodies to realistically interact with all meshes in the world, often contorting in ridiculous ways. It often looks silly, but because of the game's focus on hiding enemy bodies, this addition adds a great new dynamic to the experience. Another important part of the presentation is the sound design. Because of Chaos Theory's emphasis on sound masking, the sound was redesigned with much higher quality audio. In addition to this, Ubisoft hired composer Eamon Tobin to produce the soundtrack, who provided arguably the best music in the entire game franchise. Jesper Kyd, famous for his work on the popular Hitman franchise, also provided a few tracks, though they're not nearly as prevalent. Ubisoft, realizing the profit potential for the Splinter Cell series, pulled out all the stops for Chaos Theory. Everything from its graphics, gameplay, multiplayer, music, sound, and story were all given an extra level of care and attention to help make it the strongest entry in the franchise yet. And that extra effort paid off, as critical reception for the game was through the roof, with universal acclaim from all outlets. The game was praised for its more forgiving mission designs, its more open-ended environments, and its excellent blend of storytelling and gameplay. The multiplayer, while more rough around the edges, was still met with positive reception, and was even in the running for PC Gamer's best multiplayer game of the year, losing out to DICE's Battlefield 2. Splinter Cell Chaos Theory far exceeded expectations, and is considered by many as one of the best stealth action video games of all time. This title would also mark the end of the traditional Splinter Cell experience, as Ubisoft began investigating new ways to approach the Sam Fisher character, and shared the stealth action experience with an even bigger audience. Chaos Theory released at the very tail end of the 6th console generation, and had pushed the poor PlayStation 2 and Xbox to their absolute limits. In the wake of Splinter Cell's resounding success, Ubisoft immediately sought to bring the franchise to the next generation hardware, while also simultaneously ensuring that gamers on old hardware still had a chance to experience the next chapter. Ubisoft had their Shanghai offices begin work in early 2005 on a next-generation sequel to the Splinter Cell franchise, while Ubisoft Montreal split work within the department on both an old-gen version for Xbox and PS2, and a portable spin-off title for the PlayStation Portable. The first title I want to talk about in this section is Splinter Cell Double Agent for the Xbox 360 and PC, often referred to as Version 1. Double Agent on paper seemed like a creative concept for a new Splinter Cell game. The idea was to take Sam Fisher out of his comfort zone by putting him undercover in a terrorist organization, while also building upon the excellent gameplay design of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory. But unfortunately, Double Agent's short development time on completely brand new hardware resulted in an incredibly unstable experience, and the final product barely resembles the promotional material. Double Agent's story takes place shortly after the events of Chaos Theory, with Sam Fisher on another covert mission for Third Echelon. Only this time he's joined by a rookie Splinter Cell named John Hodge, whose go-getter attitude gets him killed before we even really get to know him. But after Fisher completes his objectives and is extracted, Lambert breaks the horrible news that Sam's daughter Sarah had just been killed by a drunk driver. This tragedy completely breaks Sam, as Sarah was the only thing keeping him tethered to his humanity. In the wake of Sam's loss, Lambert offers a special undercover opportunity involving a domestic terrorist organization called John Brown's Army. Sam agrees and infiltrates the organization by helping break a member out of a high-security prison. Sam is then accepted into the JBA and is tasked with earning their trust while simultaneously spying on them for the NSA. It's a unique concept, and the additional interaction with characters outside of the typical interrogation scenario helps to give Sam significantly more depth than before. However, the story itself feels nothing like the original trilogy. There's no news reports during cutscenes or interesting side stories about astronauts here. Instead, the story builds entirely around Sam's trust of his agency and the people around him. Players can also directly influence the story based on their actions, like choosing whether to detonate a bomb in Mexico in order to maintain the trust of the terrorist, or defuse it and frame someone else. Double Agent's story, while not the best written in the series, is the first title to focus more on the characters themselves, rather than the Tom Clancy-oriented themes of the past. Double Agent's gameplay, on the other hand, feels very similar to the design of Chaos Theory. Sam's movement feels roughly the same, with the same closer-than-ever animations and ability to easily attack targets with a single hit. But controls feel a bit clunkier. The camera doesn't respond nearly as well as before, and Sam's animations were given a more realistic appearance, often making it difficult to maneuver in tight situations. Thanks to the more powerful hardware of the Xbox 360 and PC platform, Splinter Cell Double Agent was the first game in the franchise to step out of the shadows and into pure daylight missions. The game's levels feature daytime scenarios that require the player to rely less on finding shadows and more on finding cover to stay out of the line of sight. In an effort to make the experience more immersive, Double Agent also saw the removal of several HUD elements, including the light meter, the sound meter, and the health bar. Players now need to rely on a small light sensor on Sam's back, which can change from green for safe, yellow for potentially visible, and red for spotted. Instead of the classic health bar, Double Agent features health regeneration, with received damage slightly blurring the screen until Sam eventually falls to the ground. Like past Splinter Cell games, Double Agent features new abilities for Sam, though these moves are a bit more situational and less practical than past editions. New moves include the ability to take down enemies from around corners, hide underneath desks, and pull enemies through thin ice. There's also a new interaction heads-up display that displays an ugly blue box in the middle of the screen whenever an interaction is available. Many of Sam's tools from Chaos Theory are still available in Double Agent, including his signature pistol, F2000, goggles, and his knife. Though some of these tools are tweaked slightly. The pistol, for example, can once again be aimed while peeking around corners. The SC20K now has a small red dot scope that, when zoomed in, only shows a magnification on the scope itself, and not the player's peripheral vision. When playing the Xbox 360 version of the game, players can swap between vision modes on the scope, independent of the actual player's equipped vision. But for whatever reason, the feature was never brought over to the PC port. New to Double Agent is the ability to unlock new tools and upgrades throughout the experience. These tools are awarded based on player performance on each level, and cannot be disabled after unlocking them. This can be problematic towards the end of the game, but the classic green night vision filter is replaced with a really dumb colorized version instead. But other than that, the unlock system is an interesting idea, and adds slightly more replay value to the experience, as players can replay older levels with the new equipment and take advantage of an expanded arsenal. One of the most useful new items in Double Agent is the ultrasonic emitter, which can be used to remotely cause audio distractions to lure targets out of the way. Players can also activate a new radar to display the location of hostiles, though the ugly static map design for this is tough to look at. The most interesting new feature in Double Agent is the trust system. In order to avoid suspicion while going undercover, players need to carefully monitor their trust levels between both the terrorists and their NSA handlers by choosing specific actions to perform. This could be something simple like tapping a phone line or helping clean up a mess in the headquarters, but it can escalate to more urgent situations where a player will need to choose whether or not to kill an enemy person. It's an interesting overall game design and one of the most redeeming qualities of the experience due to its unique concept. Double Agent's multiplayer design also received a major overhaul. Chaos Theory's popular cooperative mode was not continued in the Xbox 360 and PC version of Double Agent, and instead, the only multiplayer option available is the rebuilt Spy vs. Mercenaries experience. By the time Chaos Theory had released, it was clear the game's included multiplayer mode was nowhere near the quality of the game's single-player campaign, both in terms of its visuals and its handling. To rectify this, and bring the experience over to the next-gen hardware, Ubisoft Annecy reworked the Spy vs. Merc mode from the ground up using the Unreal 2.5 engine. The visuals are a significant step up from the cartoony design of Chaos Theory's Versus mode, with more advanced lighting, shaders, and plenty of that late 2000s Unreal Engine glossiness to everything. But the biggest change was to the fluidity of movement. The multiplayer spies in Double Agent move more fluid than any other version of this mode, almost to the point where they don't look human. Spies can smoothly slide into small crawl spaces and dive out of windows with a simple button press, all while maintaining consistent momentum. This tweak greatly changed the pace of the experience, removing the quiet tension of Pandora and Chaos Theory, and replacing it with non-stop action. The spy arsenal was also greatly reduced, with only basic grenades being retained. The spies no longer have access to a taser, and need to rely even more so on acrobatics and evasion. Another interesting change to the spy is how they interact with objectives. Instead of walking up to computer terminals and hacking them directly, spies can now hack objectives remotely using a wrist-mounted device, with longer distances increasing the overall hack time. However, to balance this, spies also need to extract downloaded data by returning to their spawn, adding a high-intense chase sequence into every match. The mercenaries also received a significant change to their arsenal. Mercs no longer can choose between different weapons, and many defensive tools like wall mines, spy traps, and cam assistance were removed. Instead, Mercs are given a new flying drone that can follow spies into vents and detonate remotely. The mercenaries' vision modes were also simplified. Players still have the blue EMF vision, only now it requires that the player stand still for it to function properly. The red motion tracking vision was removed, and instead, motion tracking is built directly into the Merc's default HUD, with white outlines being displayed around fast-moving spies. The mercenaries were given a few new moves too, including a rappel move to drop off of ledges safely, and the ability to pick up unconscious spies and headbutt them with an intimidating finisher. To account for the larger level designs, Double Agent's multiplayer ups the max player count from 4 to 6, which only further adds to the mayhem. But unfortunately, the experience just isn't the same as it was in the original versions of this mode. The dark, sneaky atmosphere of Pandora and Chaos Theory is lost in this glossy new next-gen imitation, and many of the fans felt the same way upon release. On top of this, the sloppy PC version of Double Agent failed to feature a server browser in its multiplayer mode, and relied entirely on random matchmaking, something that quickly killed off the core online community for this game. There are still mercenary bots to practice stealth and grabs, but no spy bots to practice playing as a mercenary. Overall, Double Agent's gameplay, from its single player to its multiplayer, pales in comparison to Chaos Theory. There are some interesting concepts like the trust system, and plenty of cool, tense moments in the game's story. But the actual stealth action elements that made the series great to begin with were starting to fall by the wayside. Double Agent's graphical design is also pretty inconsistent. Because of the much larger audience on the Xbox consoles over the PC community, the Xbox 360 version of the game was given higher priority in the development pipeline, with higher polygon count character models, enhanced shaders, and improved performance. The PC version, on the other hand, is an absolute disaster of a game, even to this day. It's plagued with technical problems that were never fixed, including broken AI, crashes, low-quality textures and lighting, and plenty of other issues. Even the game's controller support for the PC version doesn't function properly unless you're using a wired controller. Splinter Cell Double Agent for the Xbox 360 and PC, despite its many flaws, still received generally positive reviews. Critics praised the game for its impressive next-generation visuals and the interesting new morality-based choice system. Double Agent certainly has a lot of cool things going for it. Not very many video games out there allow you to infiltrate a criminal organization undercover and require you to play both sides like this. So it's a very unique and interesting premise. But the actual execution just felt poor. Many criticized the game for its awkward controls, its buggy gameplay, and its painfully short length, while others faulted the game for dumbing down the classic spy versus mercenary mode. But this is only one half of the story. While Ubisoft Shanghai toiled away at making the next-gen version of this game, Ubisoft Montreal built their own interpretation of the undercover action-adventure title for the older-gen hardware. This version, referred to as Double Agent version 2, utilizes the base design of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, only with some shared plot elements from the Double Agent storyline. And while the story is somewhat similar to the events in version 1, this build of Double Agent is not considered to canon in the main story, even if it does tend to mesh better with the high-quality cutscenes. In version 2, Sam Fisher is sent on a secret mission to Iceland to investigate an arms deal. Only, instead of being partnered with a rookie, he teams up with CIA agent Hisham Hamza, a character who only briefly appears throughout the canon storyline. But after Lambert is notified of Sarah's death, he frantically aborts the mission, which flows much better into the introductory cutscene where Sam climbs on board the Osprey, frustrated and confused. From here, the story seems to match a bit more closely, as Sam becomes depressed and Lambert offers him a job to work undercover to infiltrate the JBA. However, the delivery of the story is also different, with Fisher recapping the event to an investigator over the phone. This Double Agent also features an exclusive train heist mission, but the mission to the war zone in Kinshasa is not included. The whole experience feels more akin to the classic Splinter Cell games. While Sam is still technically undercover and working for a terrorist organization, it seems as though he has a more direct line to the NSA than he does in the canon title, making the overall feel of the experience a bit less tense. Though there are many aspects of this version's story that I like more, including how they deal with the love interest Enrica, whose end in the canon storyline feels a bit anticlimactic. Since this version of the game is using the old architecture, the gameplay feels almost identical to that of Chaos Theory. Sam's movement, his abilities, the handling of weapons, and general game logic are mostly unchanged. However, Double Agent version 2 does still feature a few new mechanics. The big one is the JBA versus NSA trust system. Unlike the next-gen version of the game, this trust system operates as a sort of tug of war, with players needing to balance their trust between the two groups more carefully. In the next-gen version, you could theoretically max out both trust bars completely, which really takes away from the core concept. But I love how the old-gen version forces you to balance this by deciding which orders to follow and which to disobey. If a player happens to lose all their trust for any one side, a unique timed event begins that requires the player to rush to any nearby computer in the level and send information to their handler to avoid being compromised. A much more forgiving design than the instant fail triggers in version 1. Another interesting exclusive mechanic to Ubi Montreal's version is the way the JBA headquarter missions are handled. In Shanghai's version of the game, players are made to feel more...
So I got some stuff done today. checking out some other people's art. Nice. So we got this canvas outlined and primed. And we did some more work on the walking stick. And what else? Oh, that's it. Took long enough though. So tomorrow I may be putting an underpainting on this tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. I'm out of here. Peace. Till next time.